In southeastern California, where the Mojave and Colorado Deserts intersect, ancient trails weave through a land of canyon-carved mountain ranges bound together by radiating alluvial fans and dark tendrils of dry-wash woodlands. This is the Chuckwalla National Monument on this edition of About the Journey. Good morning, everybody. Today we are along the Red Canyon Jeep Trail here in Southern California, and we're going to do a through drive on this. And it comes around on the other side of the mountains, and you end up in a place called Mecca, which is just north of the Salton Sea. Now, this trail is a very easy to lightly moderate trail, and you can pretty much do it with any vehicle that has all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. I would, of course, recommend, they have something with four-wheel drive and some high clearance, but it is a pretty easy trail. It is, I think, about 15 miles long, and it intersects with another trail, and I think there's some old railroad tracks and an old trestle bridge that we're going to come up upon also. I'm not quite sure about if the bridge has been removed or not. At some point the railroad was pulling up the tracks in the area because it was no longer used, and they might have removed the bridge too, but we're going to find out once we get down there. This should be a pretty fun adventure, so we'll see you guys in a bit. So the first part of the Red Canyon Jeep Trail runs along a corridor through the Ocotillo Mountains wilderness. The first several miles of the Jeep Trail are very bumpy, ranging from washboard to wave-like undulations that sit opposite of each other, making your vehicle rock back and forth, almost like you were on water. So we're going to stop and get out and check out this stand of ocatillo. Now, ocatillo is a semi-succulent, but it is more closely related to the tea plant and blueberries than it is to cactuses. For much of the year, the plant appears to be an arrangement of large, spiny, dead sticks, although if you look closely, you can see that the stems are partially green. With rainfall, the plant quickly becomes lush and green with small leaves, which remain for weeks or even months. And they produce beautiful red flower clusters, which usually bloom in the spring, but can bloom at any time of the year if it has received sufficient moisture. The Chuckwalla National Monument was created by presidential proclamation on January 14, 2025, and it protects over 600,000 acres of lower Mojave and Colorado deserts. Deriving its name from the wide-bodied lizard that is commonly found here, this monument is considered sacred to the many indigenous peoples that have called this place home for hundreds of years. The Chuckwalla region comprises 5 geographically discrete areas located between Joshua Tree National Park to the north, California State Route 78 to the east, the Chocolate Mountain Aerial Gunnery Range to the south, and the Mecca Hills Wilderness to the west. It's part of the Moab to Mojave Conservation Corridor, which is a 600-mile continuous network of protected areas spanning California, Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. Now, from what I've been reading, this monument could potentially be placed under review by newly appointed Department of Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, who is currently reviewing all the newly created national monuments, and depending on what he decides, could open them up for resource development such as oil, gas, and mining. The Chuckwalla region has no perennial streams or lakes, but hidden within the southern area's mountain ranges are springs and natural seasonal water catchments, often referred to as tanks or pockets. Knowledge of these water sources has allowed indigenous people to survive within this arid environment for thousands of years. The locations surrounding these springs and tanks are replete with artifacts including stone tools, remnants of habitats, and a dazzling array of petroglyphs and pictographs. In some places, the patina of naturally created desert pavement has been scraped away to form circles and images known as geoglyphs. While seemingly inhospitable to humans, the Chuckwalla region has provided sustenance and material resources to the indigenous peoples who have inhabited and traversed it for generations. Many of the region's native plants were gathered for food, including mesquite and ironwood seeds, wild grasses, and cacti. Mesquite, which thrives in the dry washes of the southern area between the Chocolate and Palo Verde Mountains, was a particularly important source of sustenance. Large quantity of the beans were collected in the summer and stored for use throughout the year. By the mid-1800s, the Chuckwalla region had caught the attention of non-Indigenous Americans seeking wealth in the underbelly of its mountains. In the 1860s, the Mule Mountains, near the California-Arizona border, were the site of one of the first discoveries of gold in Riverside County. 2 decades later, the largest gold rush in Riverside County's history occurred when gold and silver were discovered in the Chuckwalla Mountains. Relics of historic mines, including shafts, trenches, equipment, and the remnants of buildings, are present throughout the region's mountain ranges. In 1862, as gold seekers spread throughout the region, a miner named William Bradshaw sought to develop a route that connected the Coachella Valley with expanding mines on the eastern side of the Colorado River. A Kahula leader and another indigenous trail runner provided Bradshaw with a map of existing indigenous routes linking springs and tanks along the southern edge of the Ocotillo, Chuckwalla, and Little Chuckwalla Mountains. He used the knowledge shared with him of these existing indigenous trails to identify what has become known as the Bradshaw Trail, which is an overland route that traverses the Chuckwalla Bench through the heart of the southern area. Some of the springs and tanks, which long have been used by the indigenous peoples, became stagecoach stations associated with the Bradshaw Trail. Visitors looking for adventure can still drive the unpaved Bradshaw Trail, which the Bureau of Land Management designated as a National Backcountry Byway in 1992. In 1942, shortly after the United States entered World War II, the Department of the Army established a presence in the Chuckwalla region, reminders of which can still be seen across the terrain. In March of 1942, Major General George Patton selected a large swath of desert in California and Nevada, including a substantial amount of land in the Chuckwalla Valley, for a desert training center to prepare the United States Army units for desert combat. By the end of World War II, over 1 million soldiers had been trained at the facility. Small unit training exercises were held in the Chuckwalla Valley, which the Army believed provided the best approximation of territory they might face in parts of North Africa. The scars of tank tracks across the southern area's desert pavement can still be seen today, along with berms, trenches, and foxholes. Against this backdrop of human history, the Chuckwalla region's many and varied plant and animal inhabitants have continued to persevere in the harsh desert environment. The region provides a refuge for more than 50 rare plants and animals, as well as 21 vulnerable vegetation communities. The Eagle River Mountain Railroad was a private railroad constructed in 1947 and 48, and it was used until 1986 to haul iron ore from Kaiser's Eagle Mountain Mine in the Colorado Desert to an interchange with the South Pacific Transportation Company in the Coachella Valley. The The Salt Creek Wash Bridge is 500 feet long, 40 feet high, and is a steel trestle bridge. The original bridge was a wooden trestle until a fire destroyed it, and they constructed the new bridge at the same location. So we found a pretty nice campsite last night right down there. There are a lot of areas to camp around here. We've got nice fire rings. This area gets a fair amount of traffic due to its proximity of the trails that come through here and of course the trestle bridge over here that we're gonna go take a look at. We have everything packed up and we're going to hit the road and continue down this trail to where it meets the highway just north of a place called Bombay Beach. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this video. This has been the Red Canyon Jeep Trail here in Southern California. It's about a 11-12 mile backcountry byway that we took starting yesterday. There is a lot of really good camping out along this road, and I will make sure that I put all of the coordinates to where we stopped and camped and where the bridge is and any other cool stuff that we came across while we were out here. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you did like this video, give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos about hiking and camping out here on America's public lands, consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't already, and you can join us next time. And we'll see you guys then.